It's pretty clear this wasn't what they meant when they offered a fast cash withdrawal option. Watch as these masked men grab this ATM and haul it off, just the two of them. Cops say they've stolen 49 ATMs around the city.
So, thieves have stolen nearly 50 ATM machines, just like this one right here, from small businesses over the last few months. But as troubling as an unsolved robbery pattern of this magnitude is, it gets even worse once you realize the city's efforts to stop crime underground in our subways are removing much-needed police from our streets, making them even more dangerous. And since the thieves wear masks and always flee the scene in stolen vehicles, the police, who are supposed to catch them, they don't even know who it is they're looking for.
The NYPD has just released new video to help find those involved in a burglary spree across 3 boroughs. Take a look at the video of the masked men that police are hoping to find. Police say they're behind 40 ATM burglaries in Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx.
Very fast.
I was surprised at how, I never seen in the past like that.
He says the 2 men walked into the A&H deli, picked up the ATM, walked out, and got into a van. His co-worker, too stunned to even act.
And after that, he called cops. And the cops, he's coming after when he left.
The owner says the suspects clipped the bolt outside, lifted the shutter, then smashed through this glass door and headed straight for the ATM. They didn't touch anything else.
And this is where the ATM was. Harjit tells me he will not be getting a new one as he worries it could get stolen again.
Investigators say the 2 men, plus a getaway driver and a stolen vehicle, stole nearly 50 ATMs in the Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens.
So, if you know who these crooks are, you can make $5,000 right now by turning them in. However, what nobody's talking about is the reason this crime wave isn't going to stop anytime soon is because the police who could stop it, the city's taking them off the streets and putting them underground to fight crime in the subway. And our leaders have decided New York's rotting public transit network is worth more than the small businesses serving communities all over town. Of course, nobody running our city will admit this, but after defunding and persecuting our police force, we've got the fewest cops keeping us safe since the 1990s. And by removing police from our streets and sending them somewhere else, we're creating the perfect opportunity for criminals to steal whatever they want. Because there's even less police around to stop them. And what most people have already forgotten is that before extra officers were sent into our subways, they'd been previously tasked with securing Central Park and Times Square to end a surge of snatch and grab robberies that had taken over those iconic locations. And although the police were eventually victorious, police data reveals that crime may have actually just migrated to other neighborhoods, with robberies surging 400% just outside the park. Which brings us to the real reason why this crime wave targeting small businesses and any business that's got an ATM in it is going to continue long into the future. The city has a hierarchy when it comes to solving crime, and until they solve crime in the subway, there's not going to be anybody available to solve crime in places like this. But the problem is, every week we've got news stories about new horrible incidents taking place underground, which seem to be happening in spite of extra National Guard troops and extra police being deployed on a regular basis. And this is because our laws do not lock up criminals who rob stores or assault others. Instead, everyone who does that seems to get released, undermining the hard work of our meager law enforcement resources. And the sad reality is, no matter how dedicated and well-trained our police are, they're fighting an uphill battle against a legal system that is rigged in favor of the bad guys, who, as you're about to see, are taking this opportunity to prey upon small businesses like this one right behind me. So here we are, 8th Avenue in Midtown by 42nd Street, where you've got tons of little businesses, cafes, shops, coffee houses, pizza parlors, and all of them have ATM machines, and that's bad news, because it makes them a target for criminals who seem to be on an unstoppable spree of ATM heists, which has been going on for months. And these criminals, they're literally just walking in the front door of these places, unbolting the ATM, and taking it out with them. And not only are these criminals afraid of absolutely nothing, they stand to make thousands of dollars every single time they strike.
It's pretty clear this wasn't what they meant when they offered a fast cash withdrawal option. Watch as these masked men grab this ATM out of a Queens deli and haul it off, just the two of them. Cops say they've stolen 49 ATMs around the city. 49.
Yeah, very fast. I'm very surprised.
I'm sorry, but if criminals can just walk into a little business like that one right there or this one over here across the street, make a beeline for the ATM and then haul it off in 7 minutes, do it 50 times, and there are no consequences, that proves this city has a serious crime problem. And it's not that our police aren't smart enough to find these guys. Of course they are. The problem is we just don't have enough police to get there quickly and catch them when they're doing something wrong. And the worst part about this is we don't even know who these people are. And with so many businesses with ATMs inside of them, their next target could literally be anywhere. And here's what they're looking for. They go into a store like this. They try to figure out how close the ATM is to the front door. This one's pretty far away. Here it is, all the way over here, hiding in the back. Is it bolted to the floor? But this one at this 7-Eleven, this one's probably safe. Look, it's so far away and then the door is way over there, they're not gonna make it. But not every business has as big of a footprint as this place does, and some of them will have their ATM right by the front door because that's where the register is. And although it's very convenient for customers, it's also very convenient for criminals if they're trying to steal the ATM when the business is open and the front door is unlocked. But as you're about to see, even when these businesses are closed and they've got their security gates down, that still does not deter these guys. And apparently it only adds a couple of extra minutes to the heist when they've got to go through something like that.
They say the store was closed when it happened. They were home asleep. When the alarm went off, they checked the live stream from the security camera. The thieves were already gone. Police were already on scene. The owner says the suspects clipped the bolt outside, lifted the shutter, then smashed through this glass door and headed straight for the ATM. They didn't touch anything else. They were in and out within 6 to 7 minutes.
So this most recent heist, it apparently took 7 minutes, and it happened at a time when the business was closed. That means they went right in through the front door, right through all the store security, took that ATM, and were out before any law enforcement response could even happen. And if any business can be robbed in 10 minutes or less, and the crooks can make off with thousands of dollars at any time of day, this is the kind of crime wave that's not going to go away until everyone's arrested or there's nothing left to steal. And of course, the security cameras are useless. These guys are covered up. They've got masks. They can't be identified. And what that means is the only way to catch them is going to be to pull them over for a traffic violation when they're in their stolen vehicle with a stolen ATM inside. But the real problem is this city has no intention of giving store owners extra rights to protect their property, which means even if they catch the criminals that are involved in this particular crime wave, there will probably be others, and they will find places just like this and go after them. The temptation's just too great, and the chances of getting caught aren't very good. These guys have gotten away with it 49 times so far.
The Sings Deli was hit on December 23rd. Cops say the spree started on September 19th. Investigators say the two men, plus a getaway driver and a stolen vehicle, stole nearly 50 ATMs in the Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. The Sings have owned this business for decades. It's the first time they've been burglarized.
So probably the most disturbing thing about this crime wave is that many of these businesses, this is the first time they've ever been robbed like this. They've never had this problem before. They're totally defenseless and totally unprepared. But what we do know about these criminals so far is that it's a team of 3 people. You've got the 2 thieves, because it takes 2 of these guys to cart away one of these ATMs, and it's the getaway driver who's always driving a stolen vehicle. Of course it's a stolen vehicle. They wouldn't use their own car to risk getting traced and captured with their stolen ATMs. No way. And think about all of the crimes that have to simultaneously be easy to commit here in New York for this to happen. You got to be able to steal cars, you got to be able to break into businesses, you got to be able to take stolen property somewhere and hide it, and you got to be able to do all of it without getting caught. And it's so simple why this is happening. There's nobody around to catch the criminals. The police have been redeployed. And as we experience crime waves in our subways or in places like Central Park or Times Square, the rest of the city is going to continue to be unmonitored, creating opportunities for the very people who we say we're worried about and who we say we want to stop. And the problems we're witnessing now are all happening because as we redeploy police to a part of town like the subway, the criminals that were there, they redeploy themselves to the places the police just left. So So here we are in the New York City subway, and as you look around, you're gonna notice a couple of things. First, you're gonna notice that it's filthy down here. Second, you're gonna notice that there's a lot of crime, and when you see the police and the law enforcement response to that crime, you're gonna realize that it's not working. And that's a problem because until crime gets solved down here, crime up on the streets is gonna remain uncontested.
In October of last year, Pix 11 News reported on a similar robbery pattern by two suspects targeting these money machines in 20 businesses across Brooklyn and Manhattan. The NYPD confirming these two robbery patterns are not related.
So I get that law enforcement is saying that these crime patterns of ATM robberies might be unrelated to each other because maybe the criminals are not related to each other, maybe they're not part of the same gang, but both of these are definitely related because of the absence of law enforcement. And we know this because all the law enforcement you see down in the subways, that's taking away from law enforcement above ground. And the same thing happened just a few months ago. Look at this, when police were sent into Central Park, which you see there in the center, robberies were up 400% on the outside of the park. That's absolutely nuts. That's why you've got people stealing cars. That's why you've got people robbing ATMs and vandalizing businesses. There's no one protecting them. And this means law enforcement in New York is essentially playing whack-a-mole. Wherever the crime pops up, they gotta go there, then it pops up somewhere else, and oh, they gotta go there now. And when you look at how dangerous, disgusting, and lawless the subway is, you'll figure out pretty quick that the police we have, all of our resources, they can't stop the crime down there, which means crime up here on the streets is gonna keep going for a very long time. And it's all because we've got a justice system that sees these criminals as victims of something and likes to release them after they do anything wrong. That's why you have so many repeat offenders. That's why you've got so many people who are now at the level where they can steal an entire ATM. That took practice. They didn't get that way by accident. Our city and our lax justice system not only gives these criminals the opportunity to do more that's wrong, it also trains them and hardens them. And this has made every progressive non-solution to crime totally worthless. You can install as many cameras as you want. The thieves don't care. Security gates, security guards, none of that's gonna matter because those people are gonna be the ones in trouble if a thief gets taken down and gets injured, leaving these businesses with only one way to stop and deter these criminals once and for all.
First broke two outside security cameras before smashing down the front door to forcibly remove the ATM. And this is where the ATM was. Harjit tells me he will not be getting a new one as he worries it could get stolen again. We have too much worry here.
So the guys at this deli, they figured out what to do. Get rid of the ATM, but the problem with that is the ATM is there to help customers who want to use cash. And you know what? These businesses, they could stop all the crime in the world if they just stopped doing things that benefited their customers, but then they'd be out of business. But that's how things work now. Go into any store in the city, you're gonna see the aisles of locked up shampoo, lotion, all the plexiglass stopping criminals from stealing, yes, but also stopping customers from shopping. That's what this stuff does. All because our legal system is not able to stop crime. So what do we have to do? We've got to lower everyone's quality of life by degrading the in-store experience, all because criminals are allowed to do whatever they want. And yes, if you're willing to remove everything the criminals steal from your store, they won't come in anymore. But neither will the people you need to buy stuff and keep your doors open. But notice which businesses are not having their ATMs robbed. Those would be banks. Not only are their ATMs better secured and non-removable, robbing a bank is a federal offense. And that's gonna come with federal consequences, which are much worse than whatever is gonna happen to the people who eventually get caught robbing these delis and these bodegas. But now the question is, how long is this ATM crime wave gonna go on? What are they gonna hit 50, 60, 70 ATMs? What's the final number gonna be before the police make an arrest?
Trains are just a little bit of a disaster right now, I feel. There's not a lot of safety precautions.
To quash such concerns, the governor used her statewide address to debut a plan to scale up the police presence on the subway system. Hochul says she plans to work with Mayor.
So this ATM crime wave, it's not even on the radar. Our leaders are laser focused on crime in the subway because we don't have enough police and the most people are affected by crime underground right now. And you know what's going to happen? Our leaders are just going to up the numbers of law enforcement in the subway to a point where criminals are so likely to get arrested and have their afternoon wasted getting released from jail that they just give up and decide to commit crime somewhere else, at which point there will be a victory lap. The subway will be safe. We accomplished our mission. Meanwhile, the criminals are on a new mission elsewhere in the city above ground committing the same types of crime. We haven't done anything. We've just redistributed our crime to somewhere else. And there will be a few weeks before the general public notices that there is danger somewhere else before the news picks up on it. And during that time, our leaders will tout their many successes and talk about how they brought crime down to levels never before seen, and they're great and we should vote for them. But even though the governor and the mayor might be held responsible for crime in our city, it's not their fault that we have it. They did not create the legal system that allows people with 87 prior arrests to walk the streets until they get arrested for the 88th time. And electing someone else isn't going to magically change destructive laws and policies that allow criminals to do whatever they want in this town. That's the real problem that we've got here. We're going to have to pass a whole new slew of laws, which might require an entire new state legislature and city council. New York is going to have to start from scratch. They're going to have to bring in all new people who are willing to vote for stuff, pass stuff, and sign stuff that's actually going to get a handle on our crime problems. Because as most of you are already well aware, the solution to crime is to put criminals behind bars. We're just not doing that. And you've got to wonder to yourself, how does a criminal learn how to steal 50 ATMs without getting caught? How many other crimes did they commit that were much smaller than an ATM heist that helped them practice and interact with law enforcement to get better at living the life of a criminal who steals things? What do you think about that? Are New York City's soft on crime laws that are meant to deter future criminal activity having the opposite effect? Are they training and hardening criminals? And are these laws a bad thing? Are they a net negative for society? And should there be consequences for people before they get to a level of being able to steal 49, 50 ATMs without getting caught? Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.